The reason that people don't get motivated is because they're not sure they have the skills or the tools or the experience to do this stretchy thing, this thing they like to try. And the thing that always struck me is I would ask people, what is your passion? What do you love about your work? And most of the times I'd get a blank stare. Well, I just work here. It's my job.
We have conflicting intentions. Should I dive deeper into my business and really just give it my all? Or should I use this opportunity of flexible work to build my other parts of my life and my wellness or something like that? So what this process does though, is it forces you to dive deeper to a core, more central intention that then you can utilize to potentially get both things or the most out of both things.
Welcome to another episode of Team Anywhere, where CEOs, leaders, and experts at building teams,
companies,
organizations,
and amazing cultures share how to lead from anywhere in the world. I'm your co-host on the East Coast, Ginny Bianco Mathis.
And I'm your co-host on the West Coast, Mitch Simon. And we invite you to join us to Team Anywhere. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Team Anywhere. I'm your host, Mitch Simon, on the West Coast of California. And in the studio today, on today's podcast, we're delighted to bring on father and son, David and Colton Chorpenning. This father and son duo teamed up to create the book, What the F is Next, the no BS guide to getting what you really want. It's a research-based, step-by-step process that's designed to answer existential questions and help you increase happiness, fulfillment, and success in your life. The process will help you identify what you love, are good at, and what's important to you. And I'm sure so much more. I'm bringing them on because while virtual teaming is hard, you spend so much of your time deciding what's best for you as a professional and what's best for you as an individual. Perhaps David and Colton can help. I'm also bringing them on the show because I'm the father of 4 sons. And I was just intrigued by a book published by a father and a son. Maybe I'll do that one day. David and Colton, welcome to the show.
Hey, Mitch, thanks so much for having us.
Thanks for having us, Mitch.
Thank you. Thanks for reaching out. Love having you on the show. So let's just start off the book. What the F is Next, the no BS guide to getting what you really want. What inspired you to write a book together?
Yeah. So, the book itself comes from my dad's 20 years in professional development work, working with professionals, organizations, etc., to help them figure out what is next on their path. So he wrote a book, Everyday Visionary, about 7 years ago, alongside a workbook called The Field Guide for What's Next. And I filled out the Field Guide for What's Next probably 5 years ago. And I just filled it out and I kind of put it on the shelf and I didn't think about it. And then 2 years after that, I came back and was looking through some old files and found the field guide. And I saw that in the field guide, I had put in my intention that I really wanted to learn how to surf and travel the world. And so once that had happened, I was, the hair stood up on the back of my neck because I had just gotten back from a 2-year trip around the world, traveling to 16 countries where I had learned how to surf. So I was like, oh, wow, there's clearly something to this. This is crazy. I've created this intention, didn't really think about it, and now it's happened. So I used the process again, and I saw that I really had an intention to work at Google. I had worked in digital advertising, marketing, that kind of thing, and just knew through that process that working at Google was the next important step on my career. So I had a chance to move to Santa Cruz, California, and I had applied to Google several times, many times, probably 30 times. But the opportunity to move to Santa Cruz arose, and I took myself up on that. And right when I moved out there, which is much closer to Silicon Valley, I got reached out by a recruiter, and I've been at Google for almost 5 years now. So I was like, wow, this, process and things really have a lot of power to them. And so it was about 2 years ago, we were fly fishing and chatting about the book and the process that he created and how it is great in its actual physicality and what it can do. It could use a little bit more of a modernization and also a little bit more about our story and his story. And so we decided we should team up and rewrite the book in a way that's a little bit more applicable to the modern time now, and also kind of gives our dual perspective from me being in my 30s, him being in his 70s, and both really working on figuring out how to get the most out of life.
How was that, David, when your son said, Dad, it's a good book, but...
There's a lot to that, Mitch, and I know with 4 sons, you've experienced a lot of this, but I have come to trust Colton as a wise counselor to my life, and he does that in many areas of my life. He's introduced me to things that, as a standalone 70-year-old man, I wouldn't probably come across. So I trust what he has to say. And to his point, when I wrote the Everyday Visionary and then the Field Guide for What's Next, they were always meant to be together, because I'm very practical oriented. I love to share ideas and do research and write papers and such. But at the end of the day, I really like to have people do things to make their life better. And I have done a lot of that through my coaching and counseling over the years. So it wasn't a hard sell for him to say, let's do this together. And so that was the beginning of that. And then, for me, just the whole concept of intention has been a pretty powerful force in my own life. It's really helped me leverage what I consider my average skills into having a life that really suits me, and certainly has brought Colton and his sister into the world, and we as a family have experienced really wonderful life together, and a lot of it has to do with intention. So both from my own personal experience and all the research that I've done, it was a pretty easy sell.
So tell us about the title. What the F is next? A little bit controversial, definitely generational, David. So how did that go, and how'd your publisher like that? And just tell us about the title, and then we'll get into the philosophy of the book.
Yeah, so actually the title is a pretty good embodiment of the philosophy of the book. And the key there is that unlike some other processes, our process just focuses in on one area of your life that you would look to make a difference and a change in the next 30 to 60 days. So many processes out there take more of a holistic approach, and they say, this is going to help you find your life purpose. This is going to help you change your entire life. I personally think that's kind of BS. I think that there's a lot more to it to find your life's purpose than reading any one book. It's a good combination of many things and tools and resources and things to get there. So ours is really about what the F is next for this one part of your life. And so in the book, we help you identify an area, whether that's like professional development, relationship, health and wellness, something like that. And you just focus on that one thing. And then we give you an action plan to make a progress on that one thing in 30 to 60 days. So that's the reason for the book. Also, another reason is, the F word is an important kind of empowering word. When you use it, you're obviously getting a little bit more serious. And there's a lot of psychology to actually say that when you do use the F word, it can it increases your pain tolerance. And as we know, doing any sort of, inspective work, it's not easy. Sometimes it hurts. You got to go and you got to fill this thing out, and you got to, think about it. And that can be a little painful. So we're taking that same approach with the F word in the book.
So I understand from what you shared that one of your philosophies is, let's not boil the ocean. Let's not change every aspect of your life, because that's probably not going to work. It sounds like much of your philosophy is intentional. What else is at the basis of the philosophy of what the F is next, such that it actually works for people?
Certainly Colton has addressed that one part of it. We do hope to really catch people's attention with the title and find those people. It's not going to appeal to everybody. My best friend won't have the book on his coffee table, so I experience rejection in that way. But at the end of the day, both Colton and I are very compelled and passionate about wanting to help people to make something transitional happen in an important area of their life. And one of the key pieces, and you said it, I love that, not boil the ocean. We're gonna have to maybe include that. Okay. We'll credit you, Mitch, for that.
All right, great.
Yeah, we're not going to boil the ocean. So what we do in our process, it actually is grounded in what's called appreciative inquiry. I don't know if you're familiar with that term, Mitch, or have heard that.
Yeah, I definitely heard appreciative inquiry. Definitely have used it before with some teams. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Why don't you tell everyone what that is?
So appreciative inquiry is actually, used more in the organizational. It kind of grew out of stuff like Peter Block and, more in the social organizational development area. But it also clearly applies individually, which is that you start with what's already working in your life. So you appreciate what's already working in your life. And so our stage one is that we have carefully, scientifically crafted questions, and there's about 20 of them. And those questions are intended to help person do an inventory of their life, mostly pretty much 100% positively. So things like, what have you been good at? When have been your moments where you've experienced deep passion, deep joy? And this is another important part of the appreciative inquiry. Not only do you do your own reflection, you think about what others have told you you've done well. So again, it's really grounding you in the person, the best of the person that you have been, so that then when you go to the next step, which is, okay, what's an important area of your life, and in that important area of your life, what is an intention that you would like to be? What's a stretch? What's a transformational experience you'd like to have in your health, your fitness, your relationships, your work life? And so it makes it a lot easier, because one of the things in the literature talks about the fact that the reason that people don't get motivated is because they're not sure they have the skills or the tools or the experience to do this stretchy thing, this thing they like to try. And so through our process, they've already started from that place. They know that, oh, I have been successful, in the world of dentistry, say, and either as an assistant, maybe, or whatever. And to become an ophthalmologist is not that far out, but if I've never been in dentistry, thinking of becoming an ophthalmologist would seem, yeah, well, that's a good idea, but I don't think I'm going to convert that into a real life thing. So that's a little bit of I think, a really important component of our process that allows people then to have the motivation and be successful to get to the intention that they would like in their life.
Great. Could you give us an example of someone who has read your book, who's actually gone through the process, what that was like for that person and what they achieved?
This is a good one. This gentleman has been in the newspaper business and an editor, and written for significant papers in our area. Editor, I think it was the editor of the Independent in our town. And he had reached the point in his life where he was doing kind of the next job that came along. He ended up going out to local college and was involved in that process. And so he read the book, and he did however much of the process he did. And when I ran into him the next time, he said, okay, I'm ready to launch my next career. And that is being a comedian on stage.
No way.
Yes.
No way.
It's a one-man show, and it's a big part of his life when he grew up in New York and went to the Jewish New York vacation spot, wherever that is in New York. I forget where it is.
The Poconos or something like that.
And so he has a one-man show, and I went to the show, and it was fun to watch him start his next life. And his wife also did the same thing, and she's now starting her musical career. So these are people that are in their 60s, mid 60s. Mm-hmm. So Colton, you may have the story of someone in the 30s that read the book and gave you some feedback.
Hey, we're taking a quick break to remind you to support our podcast by hitting the subscribe button and leaving us a review. Your feedback means the world to us, and it helps us continue to bring you more engaging and thought-provoking content for leadership and remote work. Yeah, you have any stories, Colton, for your generation?
Yeah, I do. It's a couple that I know that filled it out together, and they both realized that they were interested in having children, and that was a conversation that they had not had really formally yet. And so, yeah, that was just like a huge insight for them, and that is their what's next.
And then just a personal question, Colton. How much of the book is becoming your life? Are you now a coach? Or are you what's your connection now with the book and how you have a career?
Yeah, totally. So we are very focused on the book itself, right? Mm-hmm. The book, buying the book, doing the process yourself is the best investment you can make to make a change, right? So we just really wanted to focus in on that before kind of expanding the program. But now we are working on a course that goes alongside of it. That is a 30-day program that will help you and kind of allow us to kind of shepherd people through the phases of the what's next process. So we're doing that, and we're going to be rolling that out here shortly, and specifically doing a big push in the new year.
Great. Why don't you tell us about that? I think you're going to make a special offer to our listeners.
Well, we happen to realize that there's a season coming.
Yes, there's a season. Reason for the season.
Right. So following that first part of let's see, we got the turkey thing. So we all get to eat, turkey and dressing, cranberry and all that. So we have that season. Then we have the whole holiday, Christmas, which in our area is already starting.
These boys live in Snowland. So they live in Colorado, where I guess
Right.
it's going to start snowing, or it has snowed already.
Right. We're both big skiers, so we're looking forward to get up into that scene. But the third season is the New Year's resolution season.
Mm-hmm.
So we realized that our course would this next iteration, we have the course in the book, but now we're actually going to do a 30-day. It's a process in the book, but now it's going to be a 30-day course. Because the thing that we have found with so many folks is that they go, I love the book, I get it, I'm re-in-charged about the idea of intention, I like the process, I'm going to do it, but they don't do it. So we're going to add our active involvement with helping people through a 30-day process so that they will create the intention and make it happen. And the end of the year is the time to do that. So it's not just blowing some smoke in the air or having a desire. We're going to really help people who sign up for the course to have an experience where they create the intention that they'll actually make progress to. So the offer to your listeners is that if they go to our website, What the F Is Next, they can sign up there for the course, and we'll get back to them at that point. And the only thing they need to do is there'll be a link there to go to Amazon to buy the book, because you have to have the book to be able to do the course. It's something you have to do do kind of thing. So you can't do it Audible, you can't do it Kindle. And it's about a $225 course that they're going to have no additional fee other than just buy the book and let us know that they heard about this on your podcast.
Great. And, I think this is going to be big. I know that a lot of other authors who have the F in their title have really gone a long way. And the philosophy, I'm sure, of your book, I haven't read it yet, and others, is really, really powerful. So thank you for that offer. whatthefisnext.com. And that's a free course, which just sounds great.
Yep. Because they listen to your podcast.
Yes. They got to listen to my podcast and then, which they are doing right now. Yes.
Right now. Right.
I'm going to ask, I work with so many, in fact, everyone I work with is a virtual team player, a virtual CEO or a virtual president, a virtual CTO, a virtual analyst, right? And as they're going into 2024, a lot of these individuals spend a lot of their time, at home on a screen, and they, are distracted. They're working. They're not sure what else they should be focused on. Sometimes they're connected. Sometimes they're disconnected from people they work with. Some of these individuals are like, gosh, what's my next move? And my next move might be, getting myself completely integrated into the company that I'm currently in. Other next moves might be, well, gosh, when I'm not working, I might want to get into a side hustle or an activity, or I might want to look somewhere else. How would this book support that person who is an at-home employee, a virtual employee, really kind of figure out their life on those different schisms, either dive into what they're working on, dive out, or find something to kind of do in addition to really enhance their life at work?
Yeah. So what this makes me think about is kind of something that we talk about in the book, which is distractions. And that's like a major thing that we have in this modern society. Is there's so many things that distract us from getting what we really want. And I think one of them is that we have conflicting intentions. So that's kind of what you were mentioning towards, right? It's like, should I dive deeper into my business and really just give it my all? Or should I use this opportunity of flexible work to like build my other parts of my life and my wellness or something like that? And so that could be a challenge. You have two conflicting intentions that sometimes seem to antithetical to each other, right? So what this process does, though, is it forces you to dive deeper to a core, more central intention that then you can utilize to potentially get both things or the most out of both things. So I have an example. Let's say that you really want to buy a new sports car, but you also have the desire to work less. So at first, that seems like very antithetical, opposite, conflicting intentions, right? But if you do the process and you find out that you really isn't about the sports car or about working less, it's really about having a more freedom in your life to do what you want. And so if you dive deep into that and you understand that that's your true intention, you could potentially, instead of buying a sports car, maybe you could borrow a sports car on the weekend. You start having this conversation. You have a friend that has a sports car, or you could rent a sports cars for the long weekend. And then the second option is then you could speak to your employer or your boss or whatever, and say, hey, maybe instead of being available on Thursday, I'm going to be off because I'm going to do this like adventure with this sports car, right? And so now, without having to, change your career and the path that you're on, or to go and to work more to be able to afford the sports car, you're actually getting exactly what you wanted, which is your hands on the wheel, driving down the PCH, and you still have your job. You might have to pull over on the side of the road to take an email or a call, but I think you get the point. And so that's what this process does. It helps you dive deeper into core intentions as opposed to just like kind of like, I want this, I want that.
Kind of like Chorpenning. So the core, it's what I love about that, Colton, is a lot of people say, I'm not getting what I want. They just don't know what they want.
Exactly.
And, what the F is next, I think would highlight, what it is that you actually want. So you could get out of your own way. David, is there a particular chapter that you like, which has some strong messages or lessons in it?
I've done like you, Mitch. I did consulting with organizations. I would come in. What I would do is come in and help the executive team many times create an intention or they call it a vision, right? In organizations, not intention. So they'd create a purpose and a vision. I work with a couple different organizations like the FAA, Rocky Mountain Health here in Colorado, USA Rugby. And that was my thing, to come in and then have a day where we would do that. We bring those executives together and we talk about the purpose of the organization. But many times they would have me come out beforehand and I would meet with individuals to get a sense of what was going on in that organization. And the thing that always struck me is I would ask people in that context, so what is your passion? What do you love about your work here working for Rocky Mountain Health or whatever? And most of the times I'd get a blank stare. Well, I just work here. It's my job. I'm going, okay, all right, well, let's go with that. So now as I'm, here with you and thinking about it, I realize that I think for just what Colton said, I'm just going to really build on what he said. I think people need to take a minute. They need to just take a minute and reflect on their life. It's helpful to start there because, for me to think about all the things that I've done in my life just off the top of my head is kind of challenging. But if someone walks me through that process, I'm going to go, and then I'm going to go, oh, wow, I love the outdoors. And I love doing research and writing. And I love having conversations with people and dialogue. So once I start inventorying those things, then I can apply that to then, okay, now I have a work life, and I've got to this work life somehow over time. What is it? The Peter Principle. A lot of times you've gotten to your level of incompetence, right? And that is good and bad, because you might love what you do and you're incompetent, and that probably be okay. You're doing all right. But many people need to just look at that and take the time to just reflect who they are. And you've said it too, Mitch, what it is that they want to do. What is it they really want to do? And many times where they are, those opportunities are there. And that's kind of what Colton was referring to. It's not like we're kind of like don't consider this process that you have to change yourself a lot. You just have to get refocused. You just need to get grounded in what's most important. And we kind of did that recently ourselves. We wrote this book, and we think it's a really good book. We are vulnerable in it. We talk about our own process. We're not just scientists, which we are, to talk about the science. We're saying, hey, we're real people that deal with this. And so, we wrote the book. We thought, okay, we've done that. Now we're good. And then we started talking to people like you, and realized, oh, we're learning things as we're talking about it. And then we came to the understanding that we need to develop this course. And so we have a new intention. We have this course now to help people more integrate these ideas in their life. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it really does. It's, I really think the timing is fantastic, because it is the end of the year going into 2024. And I think everybody has to ask themselves what the F is next. Otherwise, 2024 will just be like 2023 and 2022. And I do like your approach, because I think a lot of people is like, I don't know what's next, so I don't need the book. Like, no, you need this book, because what the F is next for you is really the big question. And I like the subtitle, the No BS Guide to Getting What You Really Want. So it sounds like both through this book and through your course, listeners, readers will discover what's next for them in 2024. So great. So I want to thank you boys. I want to thank you guys for joining us, father, son, for the podcast. And so is the best whatthefisnext.com the best way to find you guys?
Yes, that is the best.
Great. And is the book on Amazon?
Amazon available in most countries.
In most countries. Okay, great. So Amazon, What the F is Next. Thank you, Colton. Thank you, David. Thank you to our listeners. If you've enjoyed this podcast, which I have, please share this podcast with your friends, your colleagues, your family. We'll see you next time on our next episode of Team Anywhere. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more engaging content from our podcast. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share the video with your friends so they can join the conversation too.